Nicole Huntsman here from moderncosmic.com. We have got our sun sign compatibility here on this video. Gemini are the people born from May 21st through to June 20th. You'd be a Gemini sun. Gemini is a zodiac sign ruled by Mercury, and I always think of a flock of birds chirping at each other and talking to each other. Gemini energy is really busy. We've got Mercury, which orbits the sun in 88 days. That's the year. That's a year for Mercury, right? It's very quick. So Mercury types, whether it's a Gemini or it's a Virgo, they have a nervous energy to them and a busyness. Gemini applies it a little bit more to the mind, but Virgo does too. But it's communication. It's this sort of extroversion of this busyness. So a Gemini will, when they text you, or anyone who has a lot of Gemini in their chart, it's like long texts, or they'll keep in touch with you, or they really need communication from their partner. They need that kind of contact. That's what they're good at. Also, Geminis, they need to be moving. They love to try new things. They always have new ideas. They're quite bubbly and refreshing, and they can change their minds a lot and change their life direction a lot because they almost have too many ideas and too many things going on. They can also be a little bit fidgety, mentally and physically, a little ADD. It's kind of a Mercury trait. Our high-functioning Geminis, we have someone who's easy and breezy. They've got a cheerfulness, a versatility to them. They're good at multitasking. They're rational for the most part. There are other things to look at in the chart that will suggest otherwise, but they're open to new experiences. They're spontaneous and fun, and they've got a good sense of humor, conversationalists. They're just kind of happy, happy-go-lucky. That's very Gemini. If you're pure Gemini, they don't wade too much in those deeper waters of deep emotion and existentialist feeling or thought. A low-functioning Gemini, on the low side, they can be overly loquacious, right? They can text you too much. They can maybe not recognize when it's time to just we don't have to be talking the whole time. We can sit in silence. Remember, you need to look at the person's moon sign, their Mercury, and other things in their chart and see where that sun is actually placed, which house it's placed in. That's going to adjust this because Gemini is mutable, so it's quite overridable by other signs that are in the birth chart, okay? But for the most part, they're talkative. And if they're not extroverted with their talkativeness, then it's happening inside of them, okay? So they're going to analyze everything, and they're going to have a lot going on inside of them. So it's almost like the quiet Gemini is the one you really need to worry about because there's even more going on inside of them than the one that's extroverting it. All right, they have an anxiety to them. They can be flirty, not really anything necessarily meant by it, but they are quite flirty with the opposite sex. It can be hard to pin down. They can have problems with commitment. They can have like a Peter Pan thing happening where they just want to be like a little kid for forever and they won't grow up and, like buckle down to the realities of life. So they can be a little bit childish in a different way than Aries. It's kind of like they just don't want to take things seriously. They want to be free to. It's almost even just they change their mind so much that they can't just stay focused on one path. Gemini in love. Geminis like things to be fresh, light, bubbly, like I've said, they're little butterflies flittering about from flower to flower. In love, they enjoy conversation. They have to have conversation. They have to have communication, whether it is verbal, whether it is written through text or letters, or sharing music with each other, or sharing poetry or things that have been read. They are always like talking to someone. True Gemini is quite talkative and social, and sometimes in romantic relationships, because they have this sweetness to them and this lightness and easiness, when they really fall in love with someone, they're not quite sure what to do with these feelings. It's kind of like, oh, geez, like it's bringing them, they're usually up in their headspace or this throat chakra area, right? This is where they operate. And it brings them down into the part of the body where there are no words. They can't put words on the feelings they're feeling. And that is really uncomfortable for someone who is used to and excels at putting words to things. So many times they run from commitment because they don't know what to do with it. They're like, what is this thing, okay? So in love, Geminis many times have a harder time with people who are perhaps more watery or more feelers, this kind of thing. They like to keep things light. And again, look at the other signs in the chart. Look at where that sun is placed to give you an indicator. If you've got someone who's got multiple planets and air signs, then that's what we're talking about. Gemini's expectations in love. So they need space, but they also need a lot of conversation and repartee and connection, which is a funny little thing, right? They just need space to know they can go and like wander off and do their little thing and then come back. They've learned some new things and you've got to learn some new things. You have new stuff to talk about, new things to enjoy together, okay? They like jokes. They have like a little naughty sense of humor. They love playing together. They don't like emotional mind games. They do not like passive aggression. The water signs rule that realm, okay? The water signs are like professional at passive aggression and emotional manipulation. Geminis are just going to be like, what are you doing? That doesn't work for me. And then they'll just flit off somewhere else, okay? You can't tie them down. If you try to tie them down, you are fighting a losing battle. So, okay. Also, they don't like feeling a sense that their partner's leaning on them for their emotional validation. You know, Gemini, they need a partner who is strong on their own, who, you know, doesn't need to be validated by them. You can't be clingy with a Gemini. That doesn't work for them. So Gemini's biggest fear. Now, because we have someone who is quite flighty, and they can be shallow at times, or they can appear shallow. It's just because they're interested in so many things. They're going a million miles a minute, and they got so much stuff going on in their head, and they, you know, going all these different directions, and they have this genius to them, you know, this Gemini Mercury quickness and quicksilver thing happening. They're afraid that maybe they really don't have the emotional depth, okay? A lot of times Geminis have been accused by loved ones in their lives that you know, can't you take this seriously? Why can't you commit to me? You know, these kinds of things. And the Gemini, this is an issue for them, it's something that they really worry about because, as I said earlier, that heart space is not their natural habitat, okay? They are cerebral and they are, you know, throat chakra, they're communicators. Heart stuff, intuition, this does not have words. So unless that Gemini has some strong placements in their chart that they need some water placements or even some fire, which will bring them down into their body at least, or earth, you know, this is going to be a fear of theirs. They're going to worry that they don't have emotional depth. So don't ever accuse them of being shallow, right? See them and meet them where they're at and help them put words to their feelings. Help them put words to the things that they can't voice, okay? That's how you can help them overcome this fear and help them to grow. Aquarius. Aquarius types are born. I'm going to start over again. Aquarius Sun. Aquarius Suns are born between January 18th. Let me start that over because I was wrong. Okay. Aquarius Sun signs are born between January 20th and February 18th. With our Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is the zodiac sign that we associate with, in my mind, revolutionary sort of fringe behavior, thinking, topics, themes, etc. Aquarius is eccentric. It's a little different. This is our water bearer. And the water bearer, to me, I never really think of the symbolism of the water bearer other than the fact that it's like the star card in the tarot, which happens to do with sort of hope and for the future. Now, Aquarius is a sign that rules friendship and brotherly love and our associations that we have with our broader community. It's humanitarian efforts. It's these efforts to move us from a place as a species, as a race, that's more selfish into this place that's about offering everyone the freedoms to express as they would like to express, okay? Unity, equality, these sorts of things. So Aquarius also rules science. It rules the new age, including astrology, anything cosmic, anything that has to do with sort of these mysteries of the universe. I think of these mysteries as quite different from maybe Scorpio or 8th house or watery mysteries that have to do with the inner psyche, but this is more sort of the cosmic mysteries and what our place is and what our role is. So with an Aquarius, you have an individual who, as a personality type, you tend to see as someone sort of eccentric. They'll have a freak flag. They usually are a little bit different or odd, and they won't mind being called weird or eccentric. Like, they'll appreciate that you see that they're unique. They really strive to live their life in a way that they feel is their own authentic version of what they think life is. Aquarius also is a fixed sign, so there is a stubbornness, even though this is an air sign, and it has to do with freedom, and it has to do with, it's ruled by Uranus, which gives it this, this sort of on-again, off-again quality. It's also traditionally was ruled by Saturn as well. So these two rulers, it's interesting, neither are emotional sort of rulers. Both of them I think of as detached and a little bit colder in the sense that they're impartial. So a lot of times people who have strong Aquarius, Uranian, or Capricorn, or Saturn, those four energies strongly noted in their chart, they'll have a sarcasm to them, they'll have a cynicism to them. It's this interesting place where their understanding of the realities of life, which would be sort of that Saturnian energy, mixed with an Aquarius at least, their ability to see the possibilities, the contradiction there, makes them a little sarcastic, and also there's a strong element of genius that we've applied to Aquarius Mercuries, or someone who's got a lot of Uranian energy in their third house, or 11th house, third house connections, Mercury. Anyway, they'll have a genius to them. Their mind will be quick. They will seem as though they received cosmic downloads, and perhaps they do. Who says they don't? I don't know. And there's just this, the way that they think that was a little different, it's a little fringe, a little weird relative to the norm. They're not normals, okay? I love Aquarius. They're one of my favorite signs. High functioning Aquarius, you've got someone who is unique, unorthodox. They do things in a way that other people maybe haven't thought of doing them yet. They have this thing where they really care about people. They're great friends. Many Aquariuses have a lot of friendly associations with a lot of different people. They're very social, and they need to have those connections with many different people, all right, and many times of the opposite gender or of the gender that they're attracted to sexually. But they need to know that their partner knows that they're loyal, that they're not. They need to be free to have these associations, and it's an important part of who they are. With an Aquarius, you've got also, it's an air sign, so they're logical and they're thinkers, and they also have an energy about them because it's Uranian. Uranus's energy is a little nervous, and they can worry about things, and their heads can even be a little ADD, a little spastic in their thinking process. I say that with love. I have Uranus in my third house, but it's on again, off again quality, because that's Aquarius energy. It's very like here and then there and then everywhere. So on to our shadow side, our low functioning, Aquarius traits. You do have a flakiness that can happen with Aquarius. You can have, they're just not earthy grounded the way that a Capricorn or a Virgo might be, or a Taurus. It's just, they're just different. They, doesn't mean they won't show up for people that they care about, because these are our most sort of humanitarian types. They'd be really good at sort of spreading the message and getting a bunch of people there. And they're going to be good at the part that they're good at, which has to do with the communication and the actual, maybe perhaps creation of the entity, and then letting other people actually do the in-person work. They're the idea person. Also, you've got a fixed sign. So you've got someone who's determined. They can be stubborn. They can be so determined to a fault. They can leave situations and be non-committal with their relationships in the same way Gemini can, because they're not naturally, again, a super emotionally connected on their own insides type of a person, because they spend so much of their energy up in this part of themselves, up in their head and in their throat chakra and whatnot, third eye and all that good stuff. This part of them is less connected, unless they have, again, moon, perhaps a moon that's in a water replacement, or some other things that would indicate that they're connected down here emotionally. But the way they operate on the outside is going to be pretty detached and a little sarcastic and a little funny and a little, like, they'll say things that are inappropriate, but they just have a Aquarius vibe about them that's pretty great. They're groovy. What else? They're freedom loving, and so on the high side they give that freedom, but on the shadow side sometimes if they feel like they're not being given freedom, they can rebel, and they can be the type that wander. They have to prove to themselves and sort of to the universe that they still are free, that they still have that universal right that's been granted to them, that they can spread themselves around a little, so that's the shadow side. Also, they can be a little critical. They can be a little, that sarcasm can move into the realm of being kind of mean, critical language. Aquarius in love, they're naturally friendly, sociable types. That's what they're here for. They're here to socialize. So typically they have a lot of friends of both genders. And again, they're going to have friends that might be the same gender that they're attracted to. So as a partner of an Aquarius, you have to understand that there's a big difference between platonic and romantic. Aquariuses love platonic relationships, and they have a lot of them, and they need them. And if you try to take that from them, you are stripping away one of the most basic parts of who they are, and good luck with getting them to stay, because they're not going to. They're going to be gone. Aquarius do not like, they have a fear of commitment. So if you're in any way, shape, or form emotionally overwhelming them, or trapping them, or holding them down, preventing them from doing the thing they're here to do, then they will leave, right? Also, Aquarius, they have a flirtatious, cerebral quality to them, and they like a relationship that has a lot of communication. They like little sexy flirting text messages, and letters, and wittiness and banter, and someone who can teach them things. That's really attractive to an Aquarius. Someone who can debate with them about a topic that's close to their heart, or their pet topic. And a lot of times Aquarius, we see people strong Aquarius, they're kind of nerdy. They have like a geekiness to them that's really appealing. So if you have that as well, that's probably going to be quite attractive to an Aquarius. This would be our sapiosexuals, that are attracted to the mind, someone who has a powerful intellect. That will be very sexy to an Aquarius. So Aquarius expectations in love, I'm kind of mentioned this already, but it is loyalty from the partner from an intellectual place. So they would expect your understanding of who they are and what they're here to do, which is to make many social contacts, to test the edges and the limits of social norm. That's why we consider them our iconoclasts, and they're our rebels, and they're our eccentrics and the freak flag flyers. Okay, they need to be able to do all these things because that's who they are. So they will be loyal to a partner who understands that about them. They would expect in return, they will give you complete freedom, and they expect that in return. It's just not a non-negotiable issue for a true Aquarius. If they can't do a partner that's clingy, that emotionally needs to be validated by them, that partner will be sorely disappointed. The Aquarius just kind of, even if they know how to emotionally validate you or to be really sensitive to your emotional needs, the logical part of them will kind of step in and just be like, yeah, but you shouldn't really be so emotional about that, or that doesn't make sense to me, why you're making such a big deal out of this, or they'll even just have this attitude too, like, why do you care what someone thinks about you? You shouldn't be upset about that, just who cares? They just don't, they themselves don't go to these really deep dark places typically, so they don't really understand why you need to, and why you need to pull them in there. It just doesn't make sense to them. Again, unless you've got someone who's got a watery moon, or a moon that's in a water house, then that's going to make this person more sensitive. But Aquarius can be a little insensitive. They do well with other thinkers and other air signs and fire signs. Aquarius's biggest fear would be if they're here to express their freedom of expression. The fear would be having that taken from them, feeling like they had to play a role, pretend to be somebody that they're not, keep it in the closet, etc. That would be very uncomfortable for an Aquarius, and any partnership that required that would not last long with an Aquarius. They have an on-again, off-again quality to them, where they are flaky too. They can be. And it depends on where it falls. It can affect their flakiness towards deciding on a career, or it can affect the way in partnership that if it's in their fifth house, maybe they have like multiple partners, and it just depends on how. But there is an on again, off again quality. There's a lack of commitment in some part of their life. Where that sun falls, there can be a lack of commitment in that area. So it's something that they know this about themselves, and they don't appreciate it about themselves always either. And they really will not appreciate being told that they're behaving in this way, because they already know. You better believe they already know. So their fear is, accept them for who they are. Their fear is when they're not being accepted for who they are. Gemini and Aquarius compatibility. What I find really interesting when we look at the compatibility between the signs that are the same element, especially the air signs and the fire signs, I don't sense there's compatibility and harmony in that they sort of run at the same temperature, okay? With the air signs, they're interested in communication and sort of this cerebral, keeping things in the realm of chatting about things and the realm of ideas, but it's not necessarily the stuff that romance is made of. So when you put Gemini and Aquarius together, if you, again, had a pure Gemini, someone who's all Gemini planets, every single planet, sun, moon, all the way out to Pluto, which, isn't going to happen, but maybe it will at some point in time. But anyways, probably most likely not ever going to happen. And the other person is pure Sagittarius. So we know that these combination will never come together because these two things are never going to happen. But anyway, with the, and not Sagittarius, I'm sorry, pure Aquarius. You put these two together and they're in the realm of air, talking, communicating. Gemini is going to bring a lot of ideas that they have sort of no commitment to any of them. Aquarius has this openness to new ideas as well, but Aquarius sort of makes an opinion about things a little bit more quickly than Gemini. Aquarius likes to be open-minded, and they like to look at the fringe of things and the direction things are headed in, and what's the thing other people haven't even thought of yet. You know, what's the unorthodox, new, original, eccentric way of looking at this. But then they kind of do, because they're a fixed sign, they are more apt to sort of have an opinion about how things should be, and they'll sort of decide how they think from this vantage point of the fringe, how they think like society should change in a way. Whereas Gemini's not really married to any idea. They're just kind of, what's the new thing that I can look at, the new pretty flower that I can go buzz up next to. That's Gemini, okay? So Aquarius is a little more of a deeper thinker in a sense than Gemini. I mean, that's really pretty general, but there are a lot of other things that would go into that. But in general, Aquarius is going to have a little bit, they're gonna be a little more epistemic. They're gonna go a little bit more deeply they're gonna dive a little more deeply into a subject than Gemini. Okay, so that's a little different. This is a little different. Now, they both love freedom. They both are interested in relationships having an openness and a freedom. They will give each other that. So that's a good thing. Long-term conflict between these two. I mean, it's not so much that you see conflict between these two. I don't anyway. Other than having them actually form and crystallize a relationship is a little challenging. Because you have two people who are interested in idea. Gemini, multiple ideas, trying lots of different things and playing with lots of ideas about relationship and multiple people and this type of thing. This is why they have a hard time committing. If I do this, then I don't get to do this, you know. Aquarius is a little bit the same way. And Aquarius sort of comes from this place of, if I agree to this relationship ideal or this idea of partnering with somebody, then I'm eliminating all of the other people that I could possibly partner with. And also I'm buying into this idea that we have to be in a relationship. Aquarius is more about, you know, they're unorthodox and they don't necessarily feel like they have to be in a traditional relationship to be happy. So it's a harmony and a conflict kind of a thing. It's a conflict in that if you've got one person who's more emotionally place because of their moon, or who's got more earth in their chart and wants more consistency, stability, dependability, then they're not going to jive. But if you got two people who are strongly air, there could be a really good harmony there for a long-term relationship. Long-term interaction between these two, though, is one of conversation, intellectualizing. They can sometimes detach themselves from emotions, Aquarius especially. Aquarius can have a coldness. Gemini really can too, but it's a different kind of detachment. It's just they're sort of more surface, whereas Aquarius can really just be detached from something and really just step back. It's this Uranian cosmic kind of just looking at the relationship from this place that's totally removed from the relationship itself. And Gemini is just, you know, like I said earlier, they're mutable. They don't want to close off the possibilities and the potentiality of all these other possible relationships that they could be having with other people or other ideas. That's why they don't really love this idea of just coupling with one person. So, you know, that could be an area of conflict, just that the relationship never cements or formalizes. But if that's what both these people want, then it's awesome. That's great compatibility. It just depends on, again, the moons, if the moons are happy, as always. Okay, other people will see this partnering as, you know, two people that are a lot of great conversations, talkative with one another. The Aquarius is a little bit the weirder one, the more eccentric probably. The Gemini is the one that's, they're both really socially connected. So it's like, I feel like there's like an activist, like our Aquarius. I'm just picturing like stereotypes. Like we've got an activist, and then we've got the person that's like the mouthpiece. You know, in fact, there's a new movie out. I can't think of what it's called. It's with Steve Carell, and he plays this like New Jersey gay activist, gay rights activist or something. And he's there defending, what's her name, Juliet, the redhead. She's like a lesbian. She's going to die of cancer. Anyway, he's there defending them. So he's like the activist, but he's like the Gemini. And then the Aquarius part would sort of be like Juliet whatever her name is, the redhead, her character, some kind of, she's sort of the activist in her community trying to get death benefits for her partner. And this Gemini comes in, Steve Carell, and, you know, is the one that's her mouthpiece. Okay, so that's kind of Gemini Aquarius, how they would work well together. There's a lightness, there's a funny quality, humor, and this coming together for a common cause and using words and communication to move that cause forward. Okay. Overall, how others will see this partnership, they will see these two as friends and lovers. They will see these two as people who get along really well. They may not sense that's a very emotionally charged or intense relationship if there aren't, you know, watery moons or that kind of thing, but it'll seem like a really nice, compatible relationship with good energy between the two, good harmony.